The forum. The forum was an analog form, a horrible idea. It was twice as horrible because it began in the public restroom, went down the corridor, and ended on a sidewalk that had a 20-mile stretch along the most famous boulevard by the beach. But some saw this as a positive. I've written on it twice, once in chalk and once in ink. Both washed away, and I'm glad, for I was seeking a partner and only received dubious inquiries at best and one job offering. The latter I took. The job pays well, but the office culture leaves something to be desired. However, I'm not quite sure what the business actually does. All I know is that I show up to work and I'm handed an amount of forms and I fill them out, and sometimes clients enter and I ask them questions to fill out new forms, and then usually but not always, I deny them a loan. This is the worst part of the job, as I seem to work at a bank that has no tangible money, and I only upset people. Yes, the non-tangible money is the worst part. I am very used to upsetting people, but this is the story of how I met my wife, so there's only one way forward, and it starts with the forum. You may think, oh, he naturally ended up having her seated across from him in order to deny her a loan, and then after he brilliantly worked the system, called her up again and gave her the loan, and when he saw her, he had all the charm in the world and asked her to coffee. I did none of those things. Instead, my new boss asked me to find another person to help pick up the slack around Cubicle 4. Cubicle 4 has been empty since I've been here, and I've only ever seen people crop dusting near it, as it is on the corner and near the bathrooms. I would be more upset, but at least they attempted to get it into the ballpark. Again, see my prior complaint about office culture. Regardless, I was hesitant and uncomfortable to seek out another worker the same way I myself was hired. But I figured my boss was right. If it's not broken, don't fix it. So I got some chalk and went back to the boulevard where I found the sidewalk and the end of the analog forum, where I posted in a slightly nervous scrawl that resulted in 12 feet. I made some phone calls about the job posting to the local papers, and one fax to a recruiting office, and one telegram to an address that was slipped under my cubicle, which was most unusual, but not at all unpleasant. Then I waited, and waited, and finally the woman who would be my wife came into work and accepted the posting and cubicle 4. I was going to be chivalrous and give her my cubicle, but I had 2 months seniority, and back then, I had no idea I would marry some stranger that I contacted from the sidewalk forum. I have some standards, you know. The initial desire to find a partner via the analog forum was a careless whim at best. And at this point, you might think it was your typical office romance, but it wasn't. Our boss called us in, and he had his brother Joe from HR there, and we thought that was unusual, but then came the kicker. Joe has informed me that people are more likely to stay at their place of employment if they are married. As you are both unmarried, it will have to be the two of you. I beg your pardon, my new wife frowned. You'll get 4 weeks paid vacation and stocks in the company, said our boss. How long do we have to be married? Until you get divorced, said Joe, frowning at his brother. This doesn't make any sense, I said. Why would marriage keep us both here? Because you two are clearly desperate enough to take jobs without any knowledge of what they are from a man that calls you up from a message written on a sidewalk. If you two aren't made for each other, then no one is. Collect your things, and I'll see you outside the courthouse. And that was that. He made some good points, and as it turns out, my new wife is the one who started the analog forum to begin with. She said it was a social experiment, but I think she might be a complete liar who also steals more condiment packets than necessary at any given location. But aside from that, we've been happily married for the last 40 years. Our children are healthy, happy, and grown. Our finances and stocks have never been better. And aside from a brief, unsuccessful new analog farm on our neighborhood sidewalk out in the suburbs, we're very happy. At least I think we are. I did read one angry message on the wall, but I always thought that it was from a grandchild scribbling. Though, come to think of it, it did call Cubicle 4 as the fart box from hell that no man worth his salt saved her from. What do you think she meant by that? Oh, damn, ran out of chalk.